Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so when you look past the typical travel brochures of Costa Rica, there is a deeply hidden reality unfolding right now in the breathtaking Orosi Valley. And honestly, when we dive into the on-the-ground reports from Mission Go, a completely different picture emerges. Today, we're unpacking the unique, real-world challenges facing families in this region and a pretty remarkable initiative called El Jardín Sagrado, the Sacred Garden, that is cultivating genuine hope and highly practical support right in the community. Let's dive right into the real story behind the scenery, shall we?
So, when most people think of Costa Rica, what comes to mind? You picture a wealthy, stable, and prosperous nation, right? A tropical paradise. And while it for sure is known as one of the most prosperous countries in Central America, on the ground there is just a stark contrast. In places like the rural Orosi Valley and neighboring communities like Cachi, that prosperity feels incredibly distant. The data actually reveals that indigenous families, migrant workers, and local residents are living in informal households and battling extreme poverty just to meet their basic everyday needs. Beneath that idyllic tourist perception is a really harsh reality of fragile family structures just struggling to survive day to day.
To really understand why this is happening, we have to look at the numbers. Nationally, Costa Rica has actually managed to reduce income poverty to around 15%, which sounds great, but rural areas are hit the absolute hardest. In valleys like Orosi, the local economy is heavily dependent on agricultural jobs and seasonal work. And, this type of labor inevitably leads to severe underemployment and extreme income swings for these specific vulnerable families. It creates this environment of intense stress, where parents literally do not know from month to month if their basic needs will be met, pushing these households right to the absolute edge.
And this economic pressure builds a deeply tragic pipeline for the next generation. The story we see unfolding in the research is just heartbreaking. We routinely see a single parent forced to work multiple jobs, sometimes 2 or 3 at a time, just to put food on the table. And what does that mean? It means they are away from home for incredibly long hours. As a direct result, young children are left completely unsupervised for large portions of the day. Without guidance or a safe place to go, these isolated kids face early exposure to alcohol and drugs on the streets, leaving them entirely vulnerable to recruitment into youth gangs who sweep in and offer them a false sense of belonging.
The data backing up this pipeline is staggering. The studies of Costa Rican adolescents show that over 50% of secondary students report having tried alcohol. It is by far the most commonly used substance. But in the Cartago province, where the Orosi Valley is actually located, we're seeing some of the absolute highest levels of marijuana use among students. Furthermore, observers are warning of rising cocaine exposure in the area. These young teens, who are already dealing with poverty and family conflict, are being actively pulled into low-level drug dealing and gang-related activities right in these small, rural towns.
Now you might be wondering, what's driving this? A major factor here is a critical lack of safe spaces and structured recreation. While parents are working those multiple, exhausting jobs we talked about, their young teens have absolutely no safe haven from the streets. There's a profound shortage of positive outlets, supervised sports, or vocational opportunities. Without these crucial support systems, the risk of unhealthy coping mechanisms skyrockets. Youth easily drift into substance misuse and gang influence simply because, well, they have nowhere else to go and literally no one to watch over them.
But the source material outlines a really powerful response grounded in the scripture from Matthew 5:14. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. This perfectly encapsulates the mission of a new beacon of hope being established right in the heart of the community. It transitions us beautifully from the harsh realities of poverty and youth vulnerability to the very practical solution Mission Go is bringing to life. That beacon is El Jardín Sagrado, which translates to the Sacred Garden. It's a Christian celebration center and camp located directly in the Orosi Valley. Now actually, let me clarify. Don't picture some sprawling modern American college campus here. Instead, it's designed to fit naturally right into the Central Valley, feeling way more like a traditional Costa Rican village. It is purposely built to serve as both a spiritual lighthouse and a highly practical support center where these deeply vulnerable families can find a true, physical refuge from the pressures of the streets.
So how does this work in practice? Well, this campus actively operates as a holistic social service hub to directly combat that youth gang pipeline we discussed. It gives kids that desperately needed supervised environment through youth camps, retreats, and safe recreation and sports. But it also steps right in to support those stressed, overworked single parents by offering basic vocational training, parenting workshops, and mentoring. It's a comprehensive approach, right? It provides a safe space for teens while delivering essential life skills and actual relief for single parents who are stretched entirely too thin.
And here's another vital layer to this initiative. It focuses heavily on local leaders. In many rural settings here, the local church acts as the informal social service hub, yet there's a real shortage of trained pastors. The campus steps in to provide short, intensive, practical theological training for these rural pastors and lay leaders. We're talking about everyday community figures here, people in jeans and regular clothes, not formal priestly collars, who are stepping up to help. Here, they receive the vital training they need to effectively counsel families, navigate severe addiction issues, and address the trauma facing their congregations from a solid biblical foundation.
To make absolutely all of this possible, Mission Go is launching a Fall Outreach and Establishment Year campaign with a goal of $101,500. This is what prepares the safe haven for active, life-saving ministry. Let's break that down. $45,000 is allocated for accommodation upgrades to house visiting ministry teams and teachers. $25,000 goes straight into the fields and sports equipment to get those kids off the streets. Another $17,000 covers urgent repairs to the main kitchen building to support vital feeding programs, and the final $14,500 is dedicated to the annual operating support, just to keep the lights on and the programs running smoothly.
While the overall goal is definitely significant, sustaining this work is surprisingly accessible. A monthly partnership of just $25 helps provide steady, dependable support for the daily outreach, discipleship, and feeding programs. This consistent foundation is exactly what reliably keeps the doors of El Jardín Sagrado open for the children who need it every single afternoon while their parents are away at work.
The need is incredibly immediate, and so is the opportunity. Local believers are already using the grounds as a safe haven, but they absolutely need the resources to fully establish it. If you want to take action and help protect these vulnerable kids from the streets and youth gangs, you can go directly to the Mission Go web link right now. Whether it's stepping up to become a $25 monthly partner to sustain the daily programs or making a one-time gift to help them reach that establishment year goal for field equipment and campus repairs, your support at the Mission Go web link translates directly into a physical safe space for these families.
We've seen the stark contrast between the tourist brochures and the daily, grueling struggle of single parents in the Orosi Valley. We've seen the tragic pipeline that leaves unsupervised kids completely vulnerable to gangs. And we've explored the incredible, highly practical solution being built right now at the Sacred Garden. So I'll leave you with this final thought to consider. Will you help give the gift of gospel opportunity and change the story for a child in Costa Rica before it's too late? Head over to the Mission Go web link to learn more and get involved. Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.